is that we now have a confirmed release date as The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 gets a new June release date, and Ghost of Tsushima is out in July. This is an article for Eurogamer written by Matt Wales, and no doubt that should be a picture there, but get out of here with your ads and cookies and stuff. I turn all my cookie stuff off so I don't get any images anymore. Sony has revealed new release dates for the previously delayed The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, both of which are now scheduled to arrive on PlayStation 4 this summer. So The Last of Us Part 2 was previously expected to launch on the 29th of May, but Sony opted to delay the release until further notice last month as a result of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. At the time, developer Naughty Dog explained it was faced with the reality that due to logistics beyond our control, we couldn't launch The Last of Us Part 2 to our satisfaction. However, Sony has now confirmed a revised launch date of the 19th of June for The Last of Us Part 2, meaning series fans will only have to attempt to avoid the internet for 8 weeks in order to avoid spoilers following the massive Last of Us Part 2 leak seen this weekend. As for Sony's other newly announced release date revision, Ghost of Tsushima developer Sucker Punch's samurai-themed third-person action adventure, wow, that was a sentence and a half, is now scheduled to arrive on the 17th of July, 3 weeks after its originally planned 26th of June launch. So there's an embedded tweet there from Sucker Punch Productions that says, as you may have seen, Ghost of Tsushima is moving out just a few weeks to July 17th. There have certainly been challenges in adapting to game development in a work-from-home environment, but thanks to an incredible effort by a worldwide team, Ghost is nearly ready for release. Sharing the news on Twitter, Sucker Punch said, the tweet that I've just said, and then add on, there are a few finishing touches to apply and bugs to squash, so we'll put these extra couple of weeks to good use. Sony has yet to offer a new release date for Iron Man VR, which saw its launch postponed at the same time as The Last of Us 2. But, you know, we've got some stuff in the pipeline, so there's kind of... But what are your thoughts, Bib?
I feel like they had their... they've been forced into this, basically, over the last couple of days with all the shit that's gone on. So yeah, I think you actually mentioned that yesterday, that you thought it may end up getting brought forward due to all these leaks, and I was kind of against it, really. I thought, no, they'll probably just sit on it, but no, they've had the hand. They've had that. What's the phrase?
They forced his hand.
Forced their hands. That's the one. They forced their hands into releasing this early, which I don't think was any. Well, it's two things. One, they've had the hands forced into actually getting this, you know, released now due to all the rumours that are flying about. But two, it just shows that they've been sitting on this for a while. Do you not think? That it's 2 months away now, so this game would have already been sat in warehouses somewhere, so they're going to have to find alternative ways of getting this distributed. So even though they originally probably would have waited for another 5 or 6 months, due to the pandemic that's going on, they already had the stuff there, and they're able to get them out and distributed worldwide within the next 2 months to get them released.
See, I'm thinking maybe, like, I mean, my thing yesterday was maybe they've got it already, because they said they were fairly close anyway before they put it back. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's either two scenarios: either the game is nowhere near ready, and this isn't going to change anything, or the game is near ready and maybe they were going to announce at the end of the month or 2 weeks before or whatever it is. But rather than going, okay, this is a shit show, we have 7 years worth of work, thousands of people, designers, developers, coders, QA testers, all the board of execs, everyone from PlayStation as well as Naughty Dog, and everyone being involved in this game, to have it just thrown out onto the internet. Rather than talking about, look, we've been done dirty, please avoid all the spoilers, you're only going to spoil the content for yourself if you see it. Obviously some people will have it spoiled without having an option. Rather than having that as their messaging, they've gone, okay, well we had an announcement lined up for I mean, maybe they had an announcement for the start of next week or the end of the month, which is only a few days away, and they've gone, actually, do you know what, sack it, okay, we've got 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 days, whatever it is, until we were supposed to put this announcement out. Let's just fast forward, let's get this announcement out now, rather than saying, oh shit, everyone knows what's happening, so there's, yeah, we apologise, let's just go, okay, it's out, it's coming out, that's it, we'll change the narrative, forget the negativity that was intended in that leak. Let's change our narrative and go, okay, we had it. We knew it was going to be going in June-ish anyway, so let's just commit to that and say, okay, put this wording out now. So it could have been done that way. But as Asim says, in doing that, summer 2020, gaming-wise, belongs to PlayStation, which, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you look at...
Yeah.
So that, I mean, obviously there's a few knock-ons. You've got Final Fantasy's just come out. The Last of Us is now confirmed for, was it June the 19th or was it 26? I can't find the date. Okay, it's coming out in June.
Yeah, I think it was the 16th. I think Tsushima was later on.
19th, there we go. 19th of June, The Last of Us, and 17th of July for Ghost of Tsushima. So one in June, and then one a month later in July. We've just had Final Fantasy as well. So those three bangers back to back is huge for Sony, and that's like pristine period as well. That in terms of that's three big bangers when you've got a huge install base, where you've got essentially a captive audience because people are staying in and playing games more.
Yeah.
Not only is it a win for PlayStation, but it's a win for the people that are stuck inside as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of a win-win. Obviously, they wanted to be able to have more of a marketing message to go alongside it, but that's kind of been destroyed by people. Well, person leaking, but hey ho, it is what it is. People are going to enjoy it a lot sooner than anticipated.
Couple of questions. Not a couple of questions. One question, but another comment first. I did see some people saying, "Is this this will damage The Last of Us drastically?" Saying everyone knows what's going to happen. There's going to be huge spoilers. Nobody's going to buy the game now, which I believe that will happen for some. Some people go, "Well, what is the point? I'll wait until it comes on PS Plus at the end of 2021 or something like that. I'm not bothered, whatever, mate." But I don't think that's necessarily the case because we covered it on the Scoop. Final Fantasy VII Remake had a huge leak. All of their content came out. Was it January, February? So all of their stuff came out early. Huge spoilers. They pretty much gave the entire game away. But that still went on to be, what was that, the fastest selling PS4 game ever?
3.5 milli.
Yeah, so
on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't. That didn't slow down the speed that Final Fantasy went for in their first. Well, I mean, what was that 3.5? Was it the first weekend, the first week, or the first day, or something? I can't remember what it.
No, it was. I think it was the first 2 weeks of the game coming out.
Ah, okay. But yeah, that didn't slow it down. So I expect the same for The Last of Us, a game that's so huge and comes from a different angle. I mean, obviously Final Fantasy has that JRPG history, so that will attract the audience, but The Last of Us also has that almost cinematic audience. It's almost like film watchers that want to play games as well. So yeah, I can see it working still really well for them. The fact that they've just changed this to turn that negative spin into a bit of positive for themselves is a good way to do it. But I'm trying to pad now because I'm trying to remember what my question was. Oh.
Has it gone?
It has. It'll probably come back to me anyway. But as for Ghost of Tsushima, that's coming out 3 weeks later now. Do we think that is Ghost of Tsushima needed the 3 weeks, or is that The Last of Us pushing it back? What do you reckon?
You see, I'm not particularly interested in the Ghost of Tsushima.
I quite like the look of it.
I'm not saying that it doesn't look good. It's just not a game that I would probably get on with. There's a lot of games that people tend to absolutely adore and like the look of, but for some reason it just doesn't click with me. But I have no idea, if I'm being brutally honest. I would like to think that they were both entities were being looked after in their own right. So I don't think one being pushed back negatively or positively impacts the other one. But I think they're probably shitting themselves at the fact that their biggest game, our biggest IP for going out this year, has been leaked already. That the people who potentially play tested this one and doing a protest of some sort will potentially leak this one. I think that's the way that they may be looking at it. But Apart from that, I've no idea. Yeah. Well, I think it's too much of a coincidence that they may be thinking this, thinking that way. If that's the case, like the biggest game of this year, barring Cyberpunk, I don't think Ghost of Tsushima will do anywhere close to the numbers that the Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy, and The Last of Us will do. I don't think the numbers will be anywhere close. But so I'll leave that out the top three for this year. Um, so I think they probably will be shitting themselves at the prospects of that getting leaked. Maybe not by the same person, because I don't imagine it's going to be. Well, was it a Naughty Dog employee, or was it a QA tester that's been brought in from elsewhere? Because I can't imagine they do all of it inside. I'm sure they'll have to bring in play testers from all around the world to be able to do it. I don't think it's all just done in house, is it? I mean, if that's him still in the chat, he will have a better understanding than I will of these. But
I'm not muted, by the way, anymore. I was muted to the chat. I muted so I could clear my sinuses, and then forgot to unmute, and then started waffling to you. So everyone's just hearing you having a one-man conversation. The bit that I did add in is we couldn't hear last point. Gee, so Bibby just agreed with silence to us.
Yeah.
Well, the bit that I added in was I imagine that there is different QA teams. So hopefully we don't have any issues with Last of Tsushima being leaked, because obviously Naughty Dog QA is different from Sucker Punch QA. But I mean, obviously we don't actually know that much detail. So is the QA actually a Sucker Punch QA? I mean, PlayStation do their own QA stuff, and the fact that it's come out through a Naughty Dog thing would make me assume that it's a Naughty Dog issue, not a PlayStation issue. So if that is the case, hopefully we don't have any issues with Ghost of Tsushima being released. Just one thing I do want to mention, because you said you don't think Ghost of Tsushima is your kind of gameplay. Did you ever play Tenchu, Stealth Assassin?
I did.
Did you not like it?
Wait.
That's a no. God, Bibby only plays shit games.
No, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it, because it was a good game way back when, but it wasn't, like, I wasn't climbing to be able to play it, do you know what I mean? I don't even think I owned a copy. I'm sure I played it at my friend's house.
I love Tenchu. That's what it first reminded me. There's a few bits in the trailer where you see whatever the main protagonist is called creeping up on someone with a stealth kill, and I remember Tenchu being one of the first games. Obviously there was Metal Gears and stuff then, but one of the first games where you basically jumped off a rooftop to sneak up on a guard and then get out of here.
Yeah.
Bacon Shade, good morning, bonjour.
Buongiorno.
Asim says, for titles like Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima QA will be done in-house, as in within Sony. External brings, ironically, too many risks. Well, that's the thing then. That's where I'm kind of like wondering, I mean, is that a risk? Is Ghost of Tsushima at risk? If this is a Sony QA, do we think that there's a potential for Ghost of Tsushima to be at risk? I mean, chances are you will have separate QA teams as well. One won't be QAing one and the other at the same time. I mean, they could do back-to-back in different windows, but because these are overlapping windows, you'd imagine there's a team on one and a team on another. So hopefully we don't have that. If this is a solo employee, but isn't the pay scenario? I mean, this is where it annoys me, because I don't want the spoilers. I don't want to go digging in. I want to know what the disgruntled employees disgruntled about. I know it's to do with pay. I know that something along the lines of they haven't been paid, but I'm just seeing that as rehashed words of someone else's rehashed words of an article of. So it's all guesswork, essentially. I don't know from the horse's mouth exactly if they haven't been paid, if they've got low pay, or if they want more pay, or if they want better hours. I don't know what it is. It's something in that realm. But from the rehashed articles and rehashed content, I took that as a Naughty Dog issue, as opposed to a Sony issue, which made me think it was a Naughty Dog QA side of things. But once again, I don't know. And if it is a Sony side of things, then no doubt that will change things. I mean, that shows you how kind of disrespectful it's not the word I was going to go for. The internet can be, in terms of your favourite developer says, okay, our game has been delayed, or this update isn't coming out yet, or our weekly patch is being delayed by 6 hours, whatever it is. Any delays like that, most people on the internet are going, yeah, it's fine. It's all right, I can wait. I'm not going to go anywhere else. So, yeah, whatever, that's fine. You take your time, make sure it works. Whereas a lot of people just instantly, to use a very bibby phrase, see their asses. And it's just like you can see how what's the word? Not weak. How fragile, that's the word. How fragile the system is now, because developers are having to put more in the hands of their employees. I mean, this QA, the fact that they have access to a code that they can either stream or capture or whatever they've done with it, they wouldn't have been able to do that if they were in the QA office in a studio with a full team around them. They're not going to be able to screen capture that, stick it on a USB stick, go home and upload it to the internet. That's happened because of the coronavirus. So you have to, I mean, not that that example slows down development, but that's an example for how coronavirus is changing things. Now companies are going to have to factor that in mind and change the way the stuff is done, which is probably going to add time, which will then push back development times. And yeah, the next time your local game of choice has something delayed, understand that it's possibly to avoid spoilers or copyright issues or other things that are going to massively hurt their bottom line. No doubt this whether it does or doesn't, but it has the potential to hugely hurt Naughty Dog and their employees, because if it's all based on share prices and the story's out, that shareholders and people playing the stock market that aren't interested in games but are interested in finances are going to go, okay, so the entire story's been leaked of a game that's based on story. I'll take my shares out, please. And then share prices drop, and then suddenly everyone else gets hurt financially. So, yeah.
Not a good look.
Exactly. Also, by the way, good morning, Connie. Good morning, Bacon Chin. Thank you for pointing out that I was muted as well. I would have been sat here for 20 minutes just chatting away to myself. The irony is we would have got to the point where I needed to blow my nose again. Then I'd have unmuted just for you to hear me blow my nose. Never thought about it like that. How it wouldn't have happened if people weren't working from home. Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, COVID and this working from home setup is good because there are a lot of archaic people, businesses, industries, whatever you want to call different levels. There is a lot of archaicism, is that a word? Still in place. A lot of people think, oh well, if you're not sat in the office, if you're not present, presenteeism is the opposite. If you're not present in the office, then you can't be working. A lot of businesses still don't see that you can be constructive and creative in a suitable working from home environment. As long as you've taken the necessary steps to avoid distractions, you can work from home often at a better rate of pace, or better pace than you would be doing in the office, and you don't have the commute and things like that. So or just as good at least. So that does bring benefits with it. But then you get people like this that also show that it's still something new. It's still fragile. All those years of putting up the boundaries and the barriers and the safety protocols in the office, all that time spent, all those eggs broken to make the working in the office omelette, that needs to be done again for the working from home omelette. Yes, I'm hungry now. Does anyone want an omelette?
I'd have liked to have seen it. Well, know what the reputation of. Well, we'll never know because the person put themselves as anonymous is an anonymous leak. But I'd like to have known the reputation of this person before they had a chance to be able to get onto it. Was it someone who was already pissed off? Was it someone who had an agenda against the company with the crunch and things like that in the first place? I have absolutely no idea, but it just, like I say, when people get to work from home and things like that, it's a trust thing. Like, you're trusting that they were able to get on with their work and do it as professionally as possible. If this person had, had an agenda or whatever it is, and then he was able to have free reign to be able to do it, I mean, with something like this, you probably would have been better getting rid than keeping him on the books or her on the books, whoever it is.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. So this person, this anonymous person, they've put their content out on YouTube. It's been taken down, and actually, where is it? I'm trying to find it. Bear with me while I find the conversation. Is this it? There we go. I'll come back to that in a second. So this person, they've remained anonymous. They've put things online, and they're doing this as a protest because they aren't getting paid, or what the situation is. They don't know the details of that. Let's just stick with they haven't been paid. Just makes it easier for us to chat about it. So they haven't been paid. Do you see this as the right way to go? When I'm asking that question, I'm asking, well, both Bibby and you guys in the chat as well. The reason I'm asking this question is friend of Ice Cream Uploads and friend of Asim Tanvir in the chat, Mr. Ben Ward, writer for, well, I say writer, editor for Next Gen Base, or NGB, a news website that has been featured on the Scoop before. I saw him involved in a conversation with Ryan McCaffrey, who is, well, actually involved in a response to a post by Ryan McCaffrey. He's editor of previews at IGN. Anyway, this is the conversation on screen. So basically, Ryan McCaffrey's saying, fuck the Naughty Dog League, such a kick in the dick, not only to players who will / might / already had it spoiled for them, but to your co-workers who worked so hard with you. Maybe management does deserve a middle finger, but why shank the project you bled with? Why shank the people you bled with on this project? But then we have a conversation here, and not saying this person's right or wrong, make your own decisions, but Chris Ray, a tech writer, has said, really, if the allegations are true that Naughty Dog aren't paying staff and disputes have been going on when people are struggling in the pandemic, you defend the company. If Naughty Dog isn't paying staff, the leaker was spot on, and this was the only way to do it in the anti-employee US system. Then Ben saying, this isn't it, got out of the execs, not the colleagues. And that's essentially the conversation that progresses. It's actually gone on way longer than when I saw it earlier this morning. But that's the gist of it. Which side of the fence do you sit on? If you've gone down the official routes, you've gone through complaints, you've started internally, you've gone to HRs or whatever, and then you're then having to go through, hey, did we just become best friends? Yeah, thank you very much for the follow, cuties. Is that how it's supposed to be said? If it is, thank you very much for the follow. But yeah, is this how we go down the route then? If we've, I'm saying we as the leaker and their perspective, if we've tried to mention it internally, we've tried to escalate it to my bosses and so on, and beyond, and to HR, and nothing's happening, I'm not getting paid, or yeah, that's it, we'll stick with that, I'm not getting paid. So I've then tried to look at tribunal things, or to take it further, but that's taking forever because there's a pandemic on it. I mean, this person's mention is that there's an anti-employee US system. Let's take it at face value. I don't know anything about the US system, so let's say it's difficult to get any progress there anyway. And you're in a time when there's a pandemic on, so not only is it a difficult, slow process, but it's a difficult, slow process that has restricted hours and mega queues. Is this the right way to go about it? What are your thoughts? And yours too in the chat.
It's not the right way to go about it. Fair. I understand it must be absolutely infuriating to know that and your emotions will be running high with this kind of stuff anyway. But the fact of the matter is, you've ended up leaking something that you have signed a million NDAs on, and it just proves what a shithouse a person is because they still release this anonymously. Like, if they was going to make a point, how are the people in the company meant to know that there's a point being made when the person's anonymous? Do you know what I mean? It could have been anyone. So it's a shithouse move, and you've got to think of your employees alongside you as well, because they're all in the firing line now as well. Not only you, because it's going to be one of maybe 7 or 8 people who have had access to this code, and now all 8 of those people are going to be in the firing line because there's one selfish person. That, well, I don't want to say selfish actually, because if that is the case, and I mean, it's just speculation that it's just about pay and things like that at the moment, isn't it? Or is that the real deal?
It's from an alleged former Naughty Dog employee after a payment dispute. Is something that's in this tweet string, once again, not directly from the horse's mouth. The fact that it has quotes doesn't mean it's an actual quote, but that's what he said. Former Naughty Dog employee after a payment dispute. That's all
Okay,
I'm seeing.
well, yeah, if that's just speculation again, then you have to take it with just that. It's a speculation piece, but the fact that you have put your maybe potentially 8 other employees in the firing line because you wanted to try and make a point, but you didn't have the bollocks to go in and say, have an uprising and do whatever you needed to get it done. Instead, you've managed to leak something and get the rest of the company and your fellow employees in the firing line at the same time, it's not a good look on you, and it's not a good look on Naughty Dog, because should they have potentially had better things in place, better security measures in place to ensure that this didn't happen? I mean, for all intents and purposes, if it has been leaked, it has been leaked. So, trying to think of a way that makes me sound like I'm not a massive knobhead. But I hope this person gets found, and I hope this person doesn't work in the industry again, because not only have you ruined your colleagues' lives or in the gaming world, because if it comes, well, it has come out that this game has been leaked. It's one of select few people that have had opportunities to build. They will not, any of these employees that QA test at Naughty Dog will have a hard time finding a job should they all get fired now.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I get. I've not thought about collateral damage in that sort of way. One person makes a leak to make a protest, isn't identifiable, and then that whole string of people, be it a team of 8, as you've said, it could be a whole branch of people that are being looked at, and they may not. I mean, let's assume that Naughty Dog are this horrendous company that are being described. They may not go, oh well, okay, well, do we want to find out who it was? No, but we know that that specific code was given to these 3 teams of people. Each team is 20 persons, so okay, those 60 people we won't consider for future projects. So they might not announce it publicly. They could easily just go, okay, we're not going to work with those people. If those people put their CVs in again, we'll just red flag them and go, no, we don't know if they can be trusted. Let's just get rid. Not that we're saying that's way it works. Naughty Dog's, legal teams. We're just discussing. Calm down.
If you was part of a finance team that was getting done for and sent down for embezzlement, do you know what I mean? That you would never find work in finance again. It's just the way it is. If you was working on the biggest game of your career, working in a team, and one of your colleagues ended up leaking something, and it was done anonymously, that person never got found or isn't currently getting sought out. If you all end up losing your jobs, you ain't getting picked up for that specific role, or in any role you have to start working at GameStop again and work your way back up. But I mean, not that everybody who works in video games starts at GameStop, but if you wanted to continue working in that games industry in some form, you will never get picked up by another game company in that area. Sorry, my nan's just texted me telling me to wave to
her. Give her a wave. Is she watching?
No, she is probably walking the dog out in the field outside my house.
The Ice Cream Uploads Scoop audience demands to see Bibby walk to the window and wave out the window. Bibby, give us a wave. Bibby, give us a wave. Bibby, give us a wave. For those of you listening on audio podcast services, Michael, aka Bibby, heads to the window, opens the window and yells. Bibby now leans. As you can hear, he explains, has a discussion with his family member. Everyone loves Grandma Bibby. Bibby shouts his affectionate feelings towards his nan and returns expediently towards the chair in which he produces the world's leading Scoop podcast. And we're back in the room! Do you know, that's probably the best 15 seconds of Scoop content we've ever had.
She walks the dog like 14 times a day on that field, so she just waits. She just texts me saying, "Wait a minute," so I just have to go to the window. Wait a minute.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Yes, back where were we? Oh, that was it. So this conversation string that I brought up previously, I'm going to bring it back up again now because this is. And apologies to Chris Ray at the Chris Ray, because I don't know if he's fighting devil's advocate or if he truly believes that this leaker is right or whatever. It doesn't seem like he's saying that this person is right entirely, but one thing he does say is this, which is another sort of discussion point where we can have another devil's advocate conversation. He says if it's over one late payment, then the leak is 100% wrong, i.e. if they were supposed to get paid and they didn't, it came in a couple of weeks later or hasn't come in yet, then he's saying the leak is wrong. However, if it's over thousands of dollars owed during a worldwide pandemic, the leaker isn't right, but I can understand and even justify it. Until we know the facts, we are all, me included, taking sides that could be monumentally wrong. So fair play to Chris Ray, he is trying to play devil's advocate there. But that asks the question then of what is acceptable. So one payment that's a bit late, you're not allowed to kick off. If you're owed thousands, I mean, you could be owed thousands in one payment. Is thousands in one payment fine? Is thousands spread over a few payments not when. When does it become acceptable to leak video game stuff, or justifiable? He doesn't say acceptable. He says he could justify it. When can you justify it?
Well, if I was to miss 1 month's pay, I would be on my ass. Do you know what I mean? Like 1 month for me is still, well, when you're earning £100,000 a month. Do you know what I mean?
It's because you live in a fucking mansion, mate. I mean,
not a 2-bed council house in the middle of.
What people didn't see from the angle was Bibby opening the window and leaning out over the moat and the drawbridge that falls down in front of Casa della Bib.
But yeah, I mean, even if I was to lose 1 month's pay at any point, that's going to be a fundamentally, you know, that's my life fucked. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I can understand. As I said, it probably is an emotionally driven action by leaking it, but people will look after themselves, because ultimately that's what they have to do. They have to look after themselves and the families, and if they feel like this is the only way they're going to get attention from the higher up, I think you're going about it the wrong way, because not only are you going to put yourself in the firing line if you haven't been paid, the other people who haven't been paid as well probably don't feel as strongly as you do in that department, even though they may be on the breadline too. So leaking something that will get you all fired and then have no paycheck during a pandemic for the next however long, it's the wrong way of doing it. And that's the hill that I'm going to die on. It's wrong. You've not only you know, jeopardized your future, you've also jeopardized your colleagues, and that's probably the hill that I will die on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, where he says if it's over thousands of dollars or during a worldwide pandemic, the leaker isn't right, I agree with. I can understand it, I agree with. And even justify it, I don't agree with. I don't think it's a justifiable action. Yeah. Like I said, I can understand why they're doing that. If they feel that there is no more avenues to go through, then I feel that that's just someone that shouldn't be given access to that kind of content. If you feel the only way I can have a resolution is to shit all over myself and my colleagues and everything else that we worked for the last 7 years to get a resolution, but I'm going to do it anonymously because I believe in it, but not enough to share my name and put. If I believe that breaking the law is the only way to do it, but I don't want to do it myself, then do you really believe in it? I mean, I get that if he'd have done it under his own name, he would have put himself in the firing line, and maybe putting it out anonymously, he's hoping he can turn himself into a symbol rather than one disgruntled worker. He's the Batman that's out there fighting the crime, not Bruce Wayne, that rich guy or whatever that's just talking about money. Maybe he's going from that perspective. Still, and maybe I'd change my mind if you give me an extreme situation to talk about, but with all I have, and also as Chris Ray says, we don't have all the facts and we're taking sides that could be monumentally wrong. All I have to go off is that it doesn't seem enough. It doesn't seem justifiable to go to that length to undermine your colleagues and financially undermine the business that is supporting your colleagues and or supposedly yourself, or not, as the case may be. I don't feel it's enough, and I think, yeah, do you know what? Screw you. And fair play to The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog and The Last of Us for going, okay, shit situation, we have been shit on. Our shares are probably rocking on and teetering, so how can we fix that? The game's coming out, and here's the release date, bam! The shares would have been like, oh, okay, let's just keep going up then, yeah, it's fine. So, well done, fair play. Keep everyone safe, and hopefully this little leaker is sat there like doing the cartoon growl because their attempts at like ruining them didn't go the way that they wanted. That sounded like a David Attenborough documentary rather than the audio description. Well, it did at first. Towards the end, should I say? When you went to the window, I was like, okay, audio listeners can't do this, so I'm going to give you some audio description. I was like, Bibby walks towards the window. Bibby opens the window and waves, and then things like that. So, although Attenborough would have been like, here we see the lesser purple Bib as he waves to a loved one in the distance.
Could you wear anything through this, by the way?
Yeah. Could you go, I Nan, love you, or whatever you said it was, something like that.
Well, that noise gate's fucking brilliant then, isn't it?
Anyway, let's move on. We've spoken Last of Us 2. The Last of Us, for those of you that may have joined late, we did kind of go back onto the conversation of yesterday because there was a very big bit of news today, but obviously not as in-depth, and is probably a reaction to what happened yesterday. Obviously, yesterday and over the weekend, should I say, The Last of Us was leaked. We discussed it on yesterday's program, but following on from that, yesterday as well, Naughty Dog announced that The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out on the 16th of June. Ghost of Tsushima is following that now. That's been put back 3 weeks. That was originally going to come out in June, but that's been moved back. My reasoning for that is to give a bit of space, a bit of breathing space, and also potentially to sort out the pipelines, the production lines that The Last of Us has. So they're going to follow their distribution, logistical reasons to get the physical copies out to people. Maybe it's to allow a bit of time for that. Whatever the reason is, Ghost of Tsushima is out on the 17th of July, Last of Us Part 2, 19th of June, and Iron Man VR, which was also delayed at the same time as The Last of Us, hasn't got a release date yet. Reasoning for that, I would assume, is the fact that it's VR. Do you have PSVR, babe?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. We do have PSVR in Ice Cream Upload Studio, but if I was to go and play a game in PSVR, I would want to play the game. And I can't play the game. I can't get a feel for playing the game by watching a video. The only way you can get a feel for playing a VR game is to step into VR. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that right now. How are you going to go step into VR when you can't step anywhere? So, yeah, Iron Man VR isn't out. Doesn't have a date for it to be out either. And I reckon that's purely down for the fact that you can't go to the Trafford Centre, stroll into game and pick up the headset and put it on. Because imagine that, you'd have to have like full, you'd look like Walter White from Breaking Bad, full hazmat suit, like, yeah, so yeah, there we go, that's sorry, but let's move forward. We spent a good chunk of time on that, and it was a good chat, folks. Well done, team. Next news article is, it's one for Bib. I mean, I am kind of on board with this, and this is also one for Fatman Dave 8472 in the chat, potentially, as 2K announces an arcade-style WWE 2K Battlegrounds. It's like taking Bib's thing and my thing and putting it together in the name. Player-unknown 2K Battlegrounds. Anyway, WWE 2K Battlegrounds, and addresses a sim series concern. And the tagline is, tag in! GG Wesley Yin-Poole for that, who writes for Eurogamer, and it says, 2K has announced an arcade-style WWE game and addressed concerns about the fate of the simulation series. WWE 2K Battlegrounds is a brawler by World War Z and NBA 2K Playgrounds developer Saber Interactive, and it's out in autumn 2020. It features stylized depictions of famous wrestlers with outlandish moves and environments. Expect more on the game soon. Until then, here's the trailer, which I will bring up separately because it's once again not embedded in the article. Meanwhile, 2K has addressed concerns about the future of its sim series after it's emerged that WWE 2K21 was cancelled following the disastrous release of WWE 2K20. In an open letter to fans, 2K pointed out the 5 title updates it had released for WWE 2K20 since launched, and promised servers for WWE 2K19 will remain active for the time being. There we go, yep. As for the next sim game, 2K said it won't release a new game this year to ensure the development team at Visual Concepts can create a game that will entertain grizzled WWE 2K veterans, as well as newcomers who want to climb through the ropes and step into the ring for the very first time. WWE 2K20 was the first game in the series, primarily developed by Visual Concepts, the US studio responsible for the NBA games. Prior to this entry, the WWE games were co-developed by Visual Concepts and Japanese studio Yuke's. To turn WWE 2K around, the company has hired Patrick Gilmore as executive producer. Gilmore was most recently boss of Amazon Games, which is about to release an MMO called New World. We hope you find this news as exciting as we do. We are confident it will lead to better games in the future, 2K said. I know you don't have much of an opinion, Bib. Thoughts?
Well, we actually went through the timeline of games not long ago, because when the WWE 2K21 was getting announced, it was rumored that this game was going to be canned this year, and they was going to be bringing one out in the meantime. I was hoping it was going to be something like this. I went on about WWE All Stars and how much I loved that game, despite it not being a traditional wrestling game. It was more of a brawler kind of game. This game is exactly what I want. WWE All Stars came out like 9 years ago, maybe. So the fact that we're getting a now arcade-ish type of wrestling game is perfect. Anyone that's played any of the old PS2 WWE games. Like, I mean, even the PS1 one. So you had SmackDown 1, SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain. All of those games, it started to get a bit more simulation-y towards Here Comes the Pain. But those arcadic style of wrestling games is what I grew up on and absolutely adore. So the fact that I'm getting another one of those in this style with what looks like graphically it looks cartoonish, and the wrestlers look like themselves times 1,000, which is what I enjoy from playing an arcade game. I don't want them to look realistic and then jump 16 foot in the air. Doesn't work. It kind of breaks the way that it should look. So yeah, I'm over the moon that we're getting a game like this rather than the drivel that they've been putting out the last couple of years. Yeah. It looks awesome. I love stuff like this. It's not going to take itself serious. I just hope that the game modes in there are fulfilling enough, because this game, if you was just to have a brawl against someone else at the other side of the ring, will get so boring so quick. So I hope that they end up doing something like they did with the All Stars one, where you had like the Road to WrestleMania and they had the factions that you could try and take down. The game modes was stacked, and you just kept you playing and playing and playing. I hope that they end up doing something like this. I was interested to see that it's going to the same studio that was working on NBA. Fucking hell, what were they called?
What, Visual Concepts?
No,
I don't know what you're going for.
I think it looks like the. Did you ever see NBA Playgrounds? That's the word I'm looking for.
No.
Are you muted again? Because Connie just says that you're muted.
I was. Thank you, Connie,
okay.
again.
So NBA Playgrounds was like the art style was very similar to this, but it was like a 2-on-2.
It does mention that. Yeah,
NBA Jam.
It does mention that WWE 2K Battlegrounds is a brawler by World War Z and NBA 2K Playgrounds developer Saber Interactive.
Yeah, so that excites me a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this game comes. I will be getting this game, absolutely no doubt. I'm looking forward to it.
The bit that you missed when I was muted then, by the way, all I said was imagine wrestlers in Disney Pixar format, which is where The Rock came on screen. So you didn't miss much this time. Yeah, I'm quite excited for it. In terms of my initial reaction was, it looks gash. It does look horrendous, and I'm still not sold on the art styles. The Rock looks like a big stocky version of himself, whereas I saw a tweet yesterday. I wouldn't be able to find it because it was in the like when you get the trending moments kind of thing on Twitter, and it was like all they've done is make the men wrestlers buff and the women thick, THICC, thick for those. So, and you can kind of see it. They're just kind of like chunky as opposed to like, which that's kind of an odd style. Which that's why I was like, I'm not so sure about this. And then you've got like the alligator and stuff there, and I'm thinking, But then I'm thinking, and then I stop for a second. I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm in my head. I've got sim, and that is arcade. Get rid of sim. Get rid of The Rock throwing his elbow pad into the crowd when he's just about to do the people's elbow, and thinking, oh wow, you can actually see his elbow pad disappearing on the PS1. This is amazing. So forget that stuff. And then think back to where I started. Well, not even where I started, but where I was really enjoying wrestling games. And I'm going back to PS1, playing the WrestleMania arcade game, or the sequel to that, which is called, why I call that Fat Man Dave. Me and David spent months playing WWF in Your House, which was an arcade game. And it had things like Doink the Clown, who obviously was a clown-themed wrestler. All right, fair enough, he's a character. But he didn't just punch and kick and slam people. He electrocuted people with his hand buzzer, and he pulled out a massive mallet that you'd expect to see Harley Quinn running around with, and flattened wrestlers. And that went down really, really well, and it was called an arcade game. And I'm thinking, so then I started thinking, okay, do you know what? I actually really enjoyed those arcade games because I stepped away from the seriousness of trying to make sure that I had that immersive realism, and just wanted to be immersed in escapism rather than realism. And do you know what? With that in mind, this could be good. I'm not sold on the art style of the characters, but I do like the idea that there's bangs, wallops, explosions, and alligators. Why not?
But I mean, Did you ever did you see the chat now? But for the WWE All Stars, did you have a look at that last time?
We looked at the artwork for it. We didn't actually click through to the video. Oh, we did click through to the video, yeah.
So it looks very much like that, but just obviously WWE All Stars was all based pretty much in the ring. It wasn't like outside surrounded by crocodiles, but the art style is exactly the same pretty much. The way that they do the moves, like John Cena doing the F5 there, but jumping up like 16 foot in the air, Stone Cold Stunner, and Bret Hart just going flying across the other side of the ring. That's a good sell. But yeah, it's that for me was super enjoyable. The amount of hours I spent on that, I probably spent more hours playing that than I had done previously to like the game before and the game after. Simulation WWE games. Apart WWE 13 was amazing. That's one of my favourite ones. WWE 13. That was sick.
Oh,
just was the.
Okay, do the choke slam. Go on, he gets him. Whoop. If Undertaker doesn't take off after this, what? jump, spin, choke slam.
But yeah, that's why I'm excited, because I spent so much time playing that one.
I'm watching this as if you're all watching this, and none of you watching this didn't realise the video was on the screen at all. So you've been sat there watching me staring at a screen for like a minute. Yeah, there we go. Them are the quotes that from the arcade game In Your House that we used to play. What's this? And boom, shakalaka. That was a Vince McMahon quote. It just got, you do like the pedigree that's happening now. As soon as you hit the floor, boom, shakalaka. And then as you're going up to the top rope, it's a high risk maneuver. So yeah, they could be really fun if you don't take them serious. Yeah, some people would look at this absolutely and go, okay, this looks horrendous. Absolutely don't want to play this. I completely get that. It's cheese to the max, and that's kind of what you're expecting with it, though. But I think
insanely difficult. This though, insanely difficult.
Think of it though, because you've got energy bars, and whilst it looks like a wrestling game, it also looks like a fighting game. It looks like Tekken. It looks like Street Fighter. Smash Brothers, probably more like Smash Brothers because of the superpowers and things like that. But if you're playing a game like Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Street Fighter, whatever, they are difficult games to play. You can pick it up and you can button bash, but to be really good at them, they are difficult. And that's kind of the thing with this, is it's taking a lot of the fun side of big head modes that you have in video games. Wow. But it's just then going, okay, that's nice, but here's a shitload of like bizarre. Let's just add weirdness. Let's make it over the top. And I think if you accept that, then yeah, it could be a good thing. I mean, that's providing it works.
I'm gonna buy this again. I'm gonna buy it. I'm getting excited rewatching this because I loved it that much. I'm gonna buy this again. It can't be that expensive. 2011 it came out, so it must be like £3 or £4 by now.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Bibby doesn't like Ghost of Tsushima, but will rebuy an over-the-top, bizarre, superpowered move from 2011 that he's already had previously.
See, someone in the comments on the videos, but I imagine this is what kids see when they play with their wrestling action figures. Absolutely, you want to see them doing 16-foot drops off the turnbuckle and shit like that.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks fun. I don't think it could hold my attention for a long time. I think it would have to be it'd be something that would be fun playing with other people. Probably, like, imagine it looks like an amazing couch co-op game or a party game kind of thing, where you'd usually get a bunch of people in a room, have a few beers and drinks or whatever, and just unwind kind of thing. It's definitely not a COVID game for me, because you're not going to play it with anyone apart from. I mean, if you live in an environment where you can play against people, job's good. But yeah, I mean, fair play to him. And this is what, I can't remember the name of the guy working on the games previously. Basically, we essentially had this teed up a couple of weeks ago. We covered it on the Scoop, that WWE 2K wasn't going to release a game this year. We had 2K19, which was, or was it 20? Did they call it 2K20 or was it 2K19? The one that came out last year.
2K20 is the one that. Oh, the one that's the current is 2K20. The one last year was 2K19.
Okay. So the one that's out, that came out at the end of last year, is 2K20. Is flawed, not very good. We aren't getting a 2K21, and they were going to come out with what the article said was a palate cleanser. Well, what that leaker essentially said was a palate cleanser, something that was different, something that would give you a different feel, and that's exactly what WWE 2K Battlegrounds is. If you've played any WWE games over the last 5 years, you won't have played anything like that. If you played anything previously from that, then yeah, it'll probably make sense to you, and I think that is where it will find its footing. People that have a longer history with video games, they'll be more akin to trying it out. AKA Mr. I'm going to buy this game from 2011 again. Baby. Let's jump ahead though. Let's jump ahead. And rather unsurprisingly, another positive of COVID is content creators and pro gaming leagues, as this article says, are seeing a huge spike in viewership. This is written by Andrew Webster for The Verge, and League of Legends and CSGO are leading the way. With people stuck at home looking for things to watch, some of the biggest esports leagues in the world are seeing a big spike in viewership. That includes professional competitions for League of Legends and Counter-Strike Global Offensive, both of which have seen record-breaking numbers over the last few weeks. The 11th season of the ESL Pro League, which ran from March the 16th to April the 12th, was what the league describes as the most successful season in the competition's history. That includes a new record of 489,120 concurrent viewers across all platforms for the CSGO League. The league also says that total hours watched were up 113.2% compared to last year, and that the average minute audience reached 164,494, which is a jump of 215.5% compared to Season 10. Elsewhere, the League of Legends European Championship broke its peak concurrent viewers record as well, with 476,599 people tuning in to watch a 3-week match between eventual finalists G2 Esports and Fnatic. The LEC says that this was the most watched regular season game in the competition's history, and similarly, the league's average minute audience was up 10% compared to last spring, though no specific numbers were released. The numbers get even bigger when you factor in the playoffs. According to analytics firm Esports Charts, the competition match for League of Legends Champions Korea saw a record of over 1 million peak concurrent viewers tuning in to watch T1 sweep Gen.G on their way to a 9th LCK title. In Europe, the LEC similarly hit an impressive peak of 800,000 viewers for the finals between G2 and Fnatic. The league says that the average minute audience hit almost 700,000 viewers across all platforms. Altogether, the LEC says fans watched over 10 million hours of playoff content, an increase of 71.35% compared to last year. All the numbers in this article, those numbers, if you can't see the article, I am rounding up and down because I just don't want to sit there and say 10,662,283 hours like I just did, because nobody wants that. So those are a lot of numbers, but together they illustrate how esports competitions have managed to fill a void during a particularly difficult period. With more sports cancelled and few other live competitions around, professional gaming leagues have been uniquely situated to adapt to an online-only structure in order to keep going. Thoughts, babe?
Amazing. I hope this starts to I hope this kind of kickstarts a new generation of people getting interested in esports, because there is no better time at the moment to be able to either watch or put on or perform at esports events. Fair enough, the best part of an esports event is the offline side of things, but obviously we've been a part of a lot of them over the years, so that the offline part will always excite me the most, because you're getting to see especially in the PES side of things, you're getting to see very familiar faces that you get to see maybe 2 or 3 times a year from all over the world. But watching high profile players play the game at a level that myself will never be able to get to, and they're doing shit that I will never be able to even attempt, regardless of being able to pull them off. So now, like my brother, for instance, is 13, and he already thinks that he's a pro. But then when you put him alongside or say, right, okay, do this, what somebody else has already done at Rocket League or whatever it could be, that he says he's a pro at every single game, he is shit. So aspiring to want to play at a level like they are on, and we're now able to watch at any given time by going onto Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, whatever it is that they've managed to secure the rights to, and watching magic happen in front of your eyes and your favorite games is insane. I mean, I've been watching Valorant stuff, and there's people, I think I'm a half decent character, half decent player using Sage, like getting the heals out, holding my own within the kills and deaths and stuff like that, but then I'll see someone rack up 40 kills next to no deaths, and there's just heals and buffs coming out their arsehole. So yeah, it's night and day, and esports is, well, it's my livelihood for a start, and it definitely has taken over my life. So seeing more of it, I'll watch any kind of esport, even if I'm not interested in the game, just because I want to be involved in that world at the moment.
Yeah, it's something that that. I mean, actually, let me stop there for a second and say good morning, Chucky. Bibby's already been singing your praises at the start of this show. So, Slack's alive. Shut up. Go away. Let me just kill that. Pause notifications. Get out of here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's not surprising to see a spike, because, like you say, it's the magic that you were talking about then. People want to tune in and get to see the magic happening. People will do that. Oh my god, I've just paused notifications. Why are you still coming through? God. Literally, paused notifications. Why are you still going? Okay. Unless it was one that was cached. Yeah, get out of here. If it happens again now. Yeah, so there is nothing that, as a competitive a fan of competitive football, if you want to watch professional football being played, you can't watch that right now. If you want to watch rugby, whatever, you can't watch that right now. We've said this previously. Esports fills a need for that. If you are a fan of competition, and that's kind of what I am to a level. Obviously, when I was talking about the other day, I was mentioning that there's like anti-sports which shouldn't really be classed as sports, like cricket and golf, that Bibby likes both of. But I like to watch a team competing against another team, because there's a narrative to that in terms of how the players interact with each other, how they're interacting with their opponents, and what the whole on pitch battle is, or on field, or on court, or on table, or whatever it is, or on screen if it's esports. The same sort of things applies, which is why when the Olympics comes around, I will watch curling. I mean, do I really care? Do I want to see people throwing a big pan down a track of ice? No, not really. But do I want to see one team outskill another team? Yes, I do. Look at the way he spanned the big thing and it got near the little thing and knocked the other stuff off. It's like, yeah, all right, I don't care. But because it's there, it's that level of competition, you get swept up in it. And esports provides that. It scratches that competitive itch that a lot of people have. So the fact that I mean, where was the numbers? It was like 212% or something up for one of the many stats were in the article. There we go. The ESL Pro League says that the average minutes audience had a jump of 215.5%. So more people. Not only is there an increase in people, that was like 100 and something percent, 113% total hours watched, 215% minutes watched, and so on. So, long story short, there's more people watching, and more people are watching for longer, which is satisfying that need to watch interactive competition. Yes, they won't all stay. Fair enough. When football's back, a lot of people go, okay, boom, I can go back to football now. This is my jam. But it will not only, but it will be good for building the future of esports. People will be like, yeah, I know what it is. I understand it now. Yeah, I don't watch it all the time, but I have watched some and I get it. So that will help just in general. And not only that, it will retain some of that audience. So expect numbers to drop back down. Yeah, we won't get 215% growth. If this was season 11, that was 215% higher than season 10. Expect it probably going to drop at season 12 when it starts. But I bet season 12 is still higher than season 10 was, and that means that there has been some audience retention, which is good. Huge for esports. And good morning, KK. How's things, laugh? How's life in Scotland land? Is it grim up that way, or are we? I mean, Manchester, Worcestershire, we had glorious sun for the last 2 weeks, and now it looks like we're back in Manchester again. So, near bad glorious sunshine. Jammy. So anyway, you tuned in just as we were talking about esports is crunching viewership numbers at the moment. Hundreds of percents up in some cases, and that's across League of Legends, CSGO, and no doubt will be happening across the board as well. We don't have the stats, obviously, because individual streamers generally don't bother about sharing their stats, but I expect consistent regular streamers will be having more eyes on and more hours watched of their streams too. So